great players. They have a great organization. And you tell them one thing, baby.
What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Also make sure to hit that bell notification, that way you get notified every time I post a video just like this one. Without further ado, let's jump right into the topic of this video. The Las Vegas Raiders are set to play in their final preseason matchup of the 2023 NFL season, and essentially the NFL regular season is right around the corner, and I am so pumped up for this. But before week 1 starts, the Raiders will play in their final preseason matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, and I think this game will still have big implications on what the final 53-man roster will look like next season. Head coach Josh McDaniels spoke to the media and stated how he does not expect the starters to play in this final game. So with that, it'll be interesting to see who is playing and ultimately who isn't playing as well. That way we get a better feel of who McDaniels plans to be the starter. But I'm going to give my top 5 players to watch out for in this week's matchup. First guy on the list is defensive end Tyree Wilson. Now look, I'm not 100% sure if Tyree Wilson is going to be out there. I really hope he is, especially since our starting defensive end Chandler Jones is dealing with an injury and he may not be available week 1 against the Denver Broncos. Tyree Wilson was our 7th overall selection, and the Raider Nation really had high hopes for him moving forward, especially since they passed on premier talents like defensive tackle Jalen Carter with that pick. Tyree Wilson needs to get on that field though as soon as possible, and it starts with this Cowboys game. This is really his last chance to get some preseason snaps before the real thing. With Tyree Wilson dealing with an injury this offseason, my expectations aren't super high for him this upcoming season, unfortunately. I think he's going to be a player that takes some time until he really starts producing and making an impact out there, but nonetheless, seeing him against the Dallas Cowboys would give us our first ever glimpse on how he is physically and just overall how he is with his technique thus far playing defensive end. So I really hope we can see him out there. Now the second guy on this list is cornerback Amari Robertson, and just in general the whole corner room is definitely a fierce competition, and to me Amari Robertson, Duke Shelley, David Long Jr., Brandon Faison, Bryce Cosby, Sam Webb, you name it, all these guys are on the bubble on whether or not they're going to make the roster. I think Amari still has a good chance, a good shot to make the final 53-man roster, but if he doesn't produce and he has another lackluster performance like he did last week against the Los Angeles Rams, then it could be difficult for him to make it. I honestly didn't think Amari was going to make this roster last season, to be honest with you, but he did prove me wrong. Now Amari does have a year under his belt in this defensive system, and he was able to force turnovers last season, so he's got that going for him. Personally, I see the Raiders carrying about 6 cornerbacks, and I see that being Marcus Peters, Jacorian Bennett, Nate Hobbs, Duke Shelley, Tyler Hall, and really that last spot is the interesting one to me. You know, for me, I'm kind of leaning towards it could either be between Amari and Sam Webb. But as I mentioned, Amari Robertson still has to go out there and prove himself and make that final cut. So this game will be huge for him and just all these cornerbacks in general. Now, third guy on this list is linebacker Drake Thomas. Drake Thomas was an undrafted free agent out of NC State, and the Raiders were seen by many to be very thin at the linebacker position in this offseason. Drake Thomas is undersized for his position, but he had an incredible production in college, and he really impressed me with his performance last game. He was all around the ball, and he did a good job stopping the run. Thomas could be very useful for us also in special teams with just the traits he has. You know, although he's an undersized player, he just plays fast and physical. And there's just some players that have that special knack to always be around the football and make plays. But to secure that roster spot, Thomas is going to have to replicate a similar performance in this game. But if he does, I would not be surprised if he makes the final roster. Now, number 4, I'm going to put Thayer Mumford. Now, there's a chance he may not play. I expect him to do so. But I guess in general, I just want to see who is out playing on the offensive line next game. We all know there's been a fierce training camp competition between right tackle Jermaine Illuminor and Thayer Mumford. Mumford won some first team reps at some point in training camp, but he did struggle against the Niners the first game, and it looked like he did pick it up a bit last week. So I think that's going to be another guy to keep your eye on. And just in general, what will also be interesting is to see who plays at the right guard position. I think Greg Van Roten may win that job. I think he's just a very solid option for us at the right guard position. He has a lot of starter experience in the league. Unless maybe they decide to roll with Thayer Mumford starting at right tackle, then maybe they'll consider moving Jermaine Illuminor to the right guard position. But just in general, it's going to be so fascinating to see which will be the starting five for this O-line. The success of this O-line will be absolutely huge for the overall success of this offense moving forward. And last but certainly not least, quarterback Aiden O'Connell. Now, shout out to you guys. You guys have been showing a lot of love on the Aiden O'Connell film breakdown videos. And, you know, for a good reason. They're very fun to watch and also analyze for myself. But Aiden O'Connell overall has looked good this preseason. The kid thus far just has not looked like he's a rookie out there. He's not making the typical mistakes most young quarterbacks make out of college, and he's done a great job being aggressive, but also having 0 turnovers thus far. So that also shows he hasn't been reckless with the football as well. Last week he played really good, even though he did miss on some deep passes, but look, I'm not super worried about that. I'd rather he makes certain mistakes now in the preseason where it's meant for players to learn and develop, and not further down the road. Also, too, it'll be interesting to see how much snaps he gets the next game, especially since we know that starting quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo will very likely not play. I hope we can see him out there a lot as well, because with all due respect, it just isn't a very interesting game to watch when Brian Hoyer or Chase Garbers is out there. But Raider Nation, those are my 5 players to watch out for in this final preseason game. I can't wait. The regular season is practically upon us. Only 2 more weeks and Raiders football is officially back. I am super excited and optimistic about this team. I think the Raiders really have a shot to carve out an underdog role type of season and maybe even just maybe sneak into the playoffs and make some noise. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think. Who are you guys most excited to see in this final preseason matchup? Let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.